Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 8 Japanese Premium Heavy Tank, the Type 63. Now if you do enjoy the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Type 63. This is the brand new tank that has come out. It's got the hydro pneumatic suspension on it, which is auto, so it does have a bit of a problem in the fact that it does have the gun bobble, but the gun handling on this tank is really damn nice. For a heavy tank, the mobility is not too bad at 40 kilometers an hour, and the turret armor is very, very nice. The one that you have to be very, very careful of, though, is that the hull armor is not the best. It tends to get shredded, which is not a good time. And if you were wondering if you can shoot through the gap in the turret, this gap here, so you can see the sandworm directly behind, yes you can. And if this tank looks up, you can actually shoot the underside of the gun as well. If you've got high enough pen, you might go through. But you can shoot between the gap between the tank and turret, so be very, very careful of that. But on the whole, the turret armor and the hull armor is very, very good on this. The hull armor is terrible. We'll get that right. And the turret armor is actually very, very good. You can't really side scrape that well because you've got to be very, very careful of this cheek as well. But the gun handling, like I say, is really nice. The DPM is really, really nice. You've just got to get used to the gun bobble on the tank when you're on a ridgeline. Have I enjoyed playing it? Yes, I have. If you want to go check out all of the games that I did in this tank, you can go check out the live stream that I did earlier today on release of this video, because then you'll get to see all the good, bad, and ugly games of the tank. But yes, I did play it live on stream for that for about 2 hours. And like I say, did I enjoy it? Yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I think it's a fairly well-balanced tank. I don't think it's outrageous. I don't think it's bad. It's just balanced, which is good, right? So without further ado, let's get into the old statistics of the tank. And as you can see, this has an 860 horsepower engine with a 40 km/h top speed and a 15 km/h reverse speed, which has 16.54 horsepower per ton ratio, which is really quite nice. But it doesn't feel like it's the most mobile tank in the universe, but it does hit the 40 kilometers an hour, so that's okay. Sometimes it feels like it goes up between 37 and 39, and it sticks to there rather than hit 40. Not quite sure why, because it's not like the ground resistances are that bad either, and you've got good power to weight. It's just one of those tanks that feels a little bit slower than it should be. But generally, the mobility isn't that bad for a heavy tank. You've got 12% internal fire chance, which is on the lower end of the fire chances. Not been set on fire yet in this tank, but my engine does get damaged a lot. I have felt that the engine tends to, if you get shot in the hull, your engine breaks, which is something you've got to be very, very careful of. You've got 1,400 hit points, which is pretty decent. It's not the best for a tier 8 heavy tank, but it's not the worst, which is okay. You've got 34 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is okay for a heavy tank. Again, it's not slow, it's not fast, it's just pretty okay. So that's most of this tank, to be fair. It's like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's basically this tank. It's got 2.3 on soft, 1.2 on medium, and 1.1 on firm, which is it's pretty okay ground resistances. They don't really hold it back too much. The soft terrain is a little bit poor, so if you're on softer terrain, you will feel the impact of that on your top speed, but generally, they aren't horrific, and there's other things that you probably want to look at on this tank at helping. You've got no camo because you're a heavy tank, is what it is. You've got 380 meters of view range, though, which is delightful, and that means that you will be able to spot for yourself with this tank, and you'll be able to get it up to a decent set of view range, which means you'll be able to get a good amount of assistance. It's not blind, which is good. You've got 25 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which is extremely slow. That is slow turret traverse, and it is a lot slower than the hull. So you probably want to really help this turret traverse with a skill like rapid aim, okay? Because that turret traverse is very, very slow. It is a bit of a pain on the tank, so be very, very careful of that. You've got 0.66 accuracy during rotation, which is very good. That is very good. And because of that, mixed with the 2.38 accuracy during movement, and then once you put crew skills on and the food, you do not need to run gun stabilizer. This gun is fabulous, and you don't need to run the gun stabilizer, so there's many other things you could do. So you could run the traction system to get up to 44 kilometers an hour, or you could run vents just to make everything in general better on this tank. It's down to you. I run vents because I like the little extra DPM and stuff like that, but it's completely down to you and how you want to set up the tank. You've got 9 degrees of elevation, which is really quite poor, but that's oscillating turret problems, and it is a little bit lacking in that regard. And you have 12 degrees of gun depression, which is, again, fantastic. You have 8 degrees of gun depression outside of the hydro pneumatic suspension, with 12 degrees in the suspension. For the suspension to activate, you have to be going slower than 25 kilometers an hour, which is a lot higher than most of the other siege mode tanks. A lot of the other siege mode tanks are between 10 and 15 kilometers an hour. I think they've done that to help the bobble a little bit, so that it's not like you reverse too quickly, therefore your suspension deactivates and then it bobbles, right? So they've made it so it's a lot higher in 25 kilometers an hour. So if you were wondering why your auto drive might not come on immediately, it's because you need to be going faster than 25 kilometers an hour for cruise control to be able to be activated. But yeah, to get that 12 degrees of gun depression, you have to be going slower than 25 kilometers an hour. You've got a 9.6 second reload, which is 2k base DPM, which is pretty damn nice. And I think you get it up to about 2.8k DPM, we'll see in a bit, which is really, really good for a tier 8 heavy tank. You've got 0.33 base accuracy, which again is fabulous. Mixed with that 2.38 accuracy during movement and 0.66 during rotation, which you get down quite low with the crew skills and food. With a 2-second aim time as well, by the way, means this gun handling on this tank is absolutely fabulous. The thing that this tank excels at with this 105mm gun is the gun handling. It is absolutely fantastic, and it's very, very nice to use. You've got AP, Heat, and HE, with 230 penetration on the standard AP rounds, and 290 penetration on the Heat rounds, which is beautiful. The penetration on this tank is lovely, means you will go through most tanks you're going to face, which is definitely glorious for this tank. You don't have penetration issues, which is wonderful. It's always nice to not have performance issues. So, you've got 320 alpha damage as well on that shell. So for for a tier 8 heavy, you're probably in the middle area because there's a fair few that have between 300 and 400 alpha. It is a little bit lower on that 320 for a heavy tank, but it is damn nice with that DPM when you mix it in there. And you've got 1,150 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, with 950 on the Heat and the HE. So bear in mind that if you load Heat or HE, you will be slower on the shell velocity than the standard AP, which means you do have to lead the target a little bit more to get the most out of it. And then you've got 150% silver bonus, with 110 on tank XP and 100 on commander XP, which is normal. So yeah, you do have a low-end silver bonus as well. If you do buy these things for the silver, naturally, it's not the best for making silver in terms of its bonus, but it still does make good credits. But at the minute, obviously, if you're going to look at the replays, it's because we've got silver bonus type ops on at the minute, which will net you a lot of silver. But yeah, that's the statistics of the Type 63. Let's go have a look at the armor. So this is the armor of the tank. And what I'm going to do is now go over to Tanks GG, which is the PC website for tanks. But at the same time, the armor model for the Type 63 on PC is the exact same as our armor model on console. They've not changed it whatsoever, which is helpful because now I can show you the actual effective armor. So as you can see, with 230mm of pen firing at itself, which is, pretty average penetration for most tier 8s that you're going to face, your hull armor is absolutely tragic. Like, that hull armor is really not very good. You get penned very, very easily in the hull for the tank. So be very, very careful of that tanks will just butcher your poor, poor hull armor. If you do get lucky in the cheeks, though, it will ricochet. You can see the turret front, though, is very, very nice. 280 effective to 200 to 300 effective on the outer edge. So you can see the turret armor on this tank is actually very, very nice for a tier 8 tank. Will make it very, very effective when you are hulled down, and it helps when you're trying to adjust for the bobble. And your gun mantlet, because of the angling look, it's only got 150mm of armor, but it will ricochet quite a lot of shots, but just because of the armor, ricochet then 100% chance. Okay, so basically it's saying that if you hit it in the right spot, you might hit the underside of the barrel and then ricochet into the hull. That's a chancy shot if you hit that. That's a fair play if you do that. But yeah, you can see the gun mantlet is very, very good, which means you will ricochet a lot of shots. And if we were to flick onto Heat rounds, which is 290 penetration, which is a lot of the higher... So we're taking out a lot of the penetration here of a lot of the tier 10s that you might face. And as you can see, your hull armor is pure garbo. It's going through. But against the turret armor, the Heat round, because of normalization, is still not very good. And it actually still struggles, and it gets worse. And the gun mantlet still is, struggling. If they load APCR, though, they're probably a little bit likelier to go through. But the turret armor, as you can see, is very, very good on this tank. And as in terms of the side armor, like I say, if you try and side scrape in this tank, you can ricochet off of this section of the hull. But this cheek armor here on the tank does become very, very, only 90mm thick, which makes it very, very easy to pen, which means you are very likely to catch shots if you try and side scrape. You're going to have to try and not expose this cheek here, and it makes it very, very difficult to side scrape in the tank. I mean, if you're using the full gun depression as well, by the way, which is, like I say, the 12 degrees with the siege mode, the turret armor is very, very good, and it makes it very difficult to penetrate. Yeah, that gun manlet is very, very good. Just the hull down capacity of the tank is very, very nice for a tier 8 tank, which is what I'm trying to get over to you. And then in terms of the modules, as you can see over here, the engine block is at the back of the tank. So if you shoot it anywhere in the back end, you're probably going to break the engine. And trust me, its engine breaks a lot. So that's something that you've got to be very careful of. The ammo storage is in the back of the turret and the side here. So if you shoot it directly in the middle of the tank, and yeah, if you shoot it directly in the center of the tank here, or here, you'll basically blow the ammo rack. So you've got to be very, very careful of that. If you want to damage the ammo rack of this tank, just shoot it in the middle of the tank underneath the hull. So be very, very careful of that with your ammo rack. The crew sit there on the tank, so that's where, if you get shot in those sorts of locations, you might lose your crew. So be careful of that as well. And yeah, that's obviously the gun. If someone shoots you in the back of the turret, they could blow your ammo rack or damage your gun, so be very careful of that too. So what do I run in terms of a crew on the Type 63? Well, I have stuck it in the Orochi. Let's go and assign it to the Type 63. So, in terms of a crew on this tank, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Rapid Aim. I run Rapid Aim because, like I say, the turret traverse is pretty poor. I want to make the turret traverse better if I can. The 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as it can be without the gun stabilizer. By doing this, I negate everything I basically negate the accuracy during movement and rotation to make it so that I just do not need the gun stabilizer, and I can make everything else about the tank better with vents. And steady aim you're always going to take. Essentially, these 5 perks you're going to take on every single tank in World War II, without a doubt. And Trap Mechanic, because we are a heavy tank, I like to get stuck in. Therefore, if my tracks get blown off, I can repair them if I want to. And then in terms of equipment, if we go put the equipment on this tank, I run the advanced loader, the vents, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself, get myself up to a good level of view range. Vents to help out everything about the tank if I can, so that I can at least, you know, get better accuracy, better aim time, better DPM. Just everything about the tank gets better with vents. And advanced loader to make the DPM even better. If you're not bothered about the vents, you could quite easily run the traction system to go at 44 kilometers an hour. You could run the powertrain if you feel like you don't hit your top speed and you want to give it that little extra oomph in the engine to be able to get up to 42 kilometers an hour. Or if the gun does annoy you, you could run the gun stabilizer to make sure that the gun is fantastic. I mean, it's already fantastic enough. I think that would be overkill realistically. Or if you want to be able to just swap ammo during the battle, you could run the advanced reload as well. It's down to you and how you want to set up the tank. There is no real right or wrong way to set up a tank. It's down to how you feel comfortable and confident in playing the vehicle. So, let's have a look at the statistics of the tank with it fully equipped out. So as you can see, we have got the terrain resistances down a little bit. The view range is up to 497 meters of view range, which is fantastic. It means we're going to spot us for ourselves really, really well. You've got the turret traverse up to 31.15 degrees a second, which is still slower than the tracks, but it really does help to at least get the turret swung around on target when you need it, and it does really, really help in that regard, having rapid aim for that. You've got 0.54 accuracy during rotation, so we've knocked it down by about 12 with the crew skills and the food, and it would obviously get better with the gun stabilizer, but it's still, that is exceptional accuracy during rotation. And then you've also got a 6.83 second reload, which is 2.8k DPM, which is fantastic. And once again, you can knock that down to about 6.4, 6.5 second. It might even be faster than that if you boost with food, which obviously makes your DPM probably closer to 2.93k, which is glorious. You've got 0.26 accuracy now with this setup as well, with 1.64 accuracy during movement, again, which is absolutely fantastic. And that you can get that better with the gun stabilizer if it does annoy you. It's down to you. And a 1.81 second aim time, which is absolutely glorious for the tank. That means that the gun just aims in, it just goes ready to go on target very, very quickly. And yeah, the gun handling on this tank is absolutely phenomenal. I do really enjoy that aspect of the tank. But yeah, that's the Type 63. That's everything about the Type 63. As it's a fairly well-balanced tank. I have enjoyed playing it. There's bits about it that you go, oh, that's a bit painful, like the hull armor and the bobble on the siege mode. But on the whole, it was definitely an enjoyable experience. I did enjoy it. It's down to you if you think it's worth it or not. I always say never buy things at full price. It's always better to wait for big discounts so that you can, you know, make the most of your money and get the most for your, you know, the biggest bang for your buck, etc. like that, right? Type 63 is 8,900 gold, so that's something to think about for you. And it's down to you whether you think you'll enjoy this tank, or if the hydropneumatic suspension does make you go, ooh, maybe not, then yeah, wait for discounts if it really looks like a tank that you might want to pick up. So what I'm going to do is send you all over to the replays where you can go and enjoy this tank and what it's all about. You can go see how it handles, and thus you can make your own minds up on the vehicle. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Type 63. 4 replays for your faces to get to see how this tank is. And this first game, we are on the new map that's come out. I say new, it's old, obviously, but it's just recently come back to the game, and that is Live Oaks. And on Live Oaks, what we are going to do, you might be going, you're a heavy tank, you're not going to the town? No, because number one, trying to go to the town from our spawn is a little bit tricky unless you're quite quick, because if they have anyone that sits at C5, they can spot you crossing, and the people at C6 can really easily farm you, which can be very, very awkward. So if you're a little bit slower, I mean, this tank isn't that slow at 40 kilometers an hour, but if you're a little bit slower, it can make that crossing to the town not very good. And the other thing is, this tank's hull is trash, so you want to be able to get the strength out of this tank, which is the gun depression and the turret. The turret is very, very good, so that's what I want to make the most of. So I'm coming to the train tracks. Coming to the train tracks so that I can get hull down and try and laugh at the opponents and use this very, very good gun. So as you can see, we come over the top of this ridge. The charioteer was already ready to get a shot into us. He's not using the big gun, because he only hits for about 200 odd, so he's got the 20-pounder. And the cheeky little Batchat gets a shot into us as well, which is kind of awkward. But the one thing we don't want to do is just sit in this dip here. We need to take the dip. Their side also needs to take the dip, because if they don't take the dip, it's going to be curtains for them. And what tends to happen is this is a do-or-die play. For either side, this can be a do-or-die play. Because if your team do not join you here, their team can just YOLO in and you'll die. That will happen probably 50% of the time you do this. And vice versa, it happens the other way as well. Basically, their team has to take this dip because it goes badly for them. Because along this 9 line and 0 line, from G9 down to K9... and from it's not even that, it's H0 down to K0, we can completely surround them in this bowl that they are in at the minute, which means they get caught in massive crossfires, and they just end up getting farmed and die quite quickly, which is not good for them, naturally. And as you can see in the Type 63, we're having gun bobble issues. You can just see the gun bobble in there, and we just go for the shot into the Type 59-2, which goes in, and this is where the Type 59-2 and the KD are really in a bind, because we have got them caught in a crossfire. They're having to deal with the guys at HJ0, but they can't, because I'm popping over and shooting them in the side and farming their hit points. This is where they do need TDs that are sat a little bit further back, but actually they can't really deal with me if I focus the TDs that are behind as well, which the light tank is actually going after. You've just seen a bobble issue. Oh, the bobble nearly got us there as well. You can see what has happened with the suspension when we pull forward and pull back. It does bobble, and it just keeps bobbling. That's what the suspension does. It is a little bit frustrating in that regard, but that 12 degrees of gun depression is absolutely luscious, and it means that we just don't have to worry about this ridgeline whatsoever. That was a bit of... well, I don't know. I must, to be honest, I preempted the reload a little bit there, which means we ended up missing the shot. But we're up to 2.4k damage with 160 assistance. They've got 9 tanks left on their team. Quite a few of them are still trapped in the town because they've got people that are sitting on the ridge at E2, which cuts them off, essentially. And what I want to do is push down into this dip here, because I don't really want to push straight down the 0 line, because if they have anyone camping back at A, B, 0, where they can actually get hulled down and get covered, it makes that push a little bit risky and can lead to pain for me. So I don't really want to do that. So what I want to do is actually push into this dip, but in below the water and below this line here, so that I can try and get shots at anyone, like the light tanks that are at D2, try and alleviate some of the pressure on the TDs and the heavy tank at E12, because I do not want them to take that position. So we go for the shot towards the Batchat 12T, but he actually stopped, and that caught me completely off guard, which meant we missed. We go for the shot now, lead it in towards that Batchat 12T, and sadly it misses. We do get detected, which is actually a Kanonen Jagdpanzer sat in the bush. That is why we got detected. I was sat there going, why am I spotted? It's because there's a Kanonen Jagdpanzer in that bush and I just couldn't see it until it fired. And it did take away a bit of a chunk of our hit points. We unfortunately also missed the shot on the light tank, but we're now going for the shot into this Hurlenhund, which we slap in, and we've tracked it. So we're sitting here going, please, please don't have track mechanic. Please let me kill you. We fire, and we kill the Batchat 12T. We meant to kill the Hurlenhund, but we killed the 12T. We'll take it. Like, one tight like the English is hard. One light tank out of the game is always good. So the Batchat 12T is gone. The Hurlenhund is now looping around my TD over there. We're just looking to see if we can get a shot at him as we move in towards the two heavy tanks at C6, but we can't, so we're not even going to focus on that guy. And actually, the TS5 kills the Hurlenhund, and there's only one tank left on the enemy team. It is the Emil 1 that's over here. We're at 3,032 damage with 2 kills, which is fairly average for a tier 8 heavy tank when you get it into where you want to be. And we're just going to use the gun depression here to get a shot into the side of the Emil. You can see we were having to wait for that bubble to come. You can just see the bubble. It just keeps going and going and going, and that's because of the hull wiggling up and down after movement, which can be really frustrating. Which is the frustrating thing about the mechanic, right, is the fact that it is linked to the hull, and if the hull wiggles, that's where the bubble comes in. We finished the game with the third class, the 1389 base XP, a pretty average game there for the Type 63. GG's that TS5 though, he had a damn good game on the other flank. But we're on to the second replay, and the second replay is indicative of what playing on a ridgeline is very, very much like for the Type 63. So we're on Lakeville. And on Lakeville, we're going to go to the choke point, as it's called on the map. We're going to go try and sit at E1 and use our gun depression, because 12 degrees of gun depression is very good for that F1 spot, but it's also decent for 8 degrees of gun depression. Now, this is where you can sort of alleviate the bobble a little bit, is if you aim over the side of the tank, you will actually get the gun depression that you want, which is 8 degrees of gun depression. So there's a way you can alleviate the bubble. So basically, if you hit a ridge line and you aim over the side of the tank, you'll get 8 degrees of gun depression, and you won't bubble, because the suspension does not affect your gun depression while you're aiming over the side of the tank, because it's only really while you're aiming over the front or back of the vehicle. So you can actually get 8 degrees of gun depression, and if you're shooting over that ridge line in a situation like this, you'll see the bubble won't actually affect you too much. So we are against an M103. I looked at the guy, we managed to get a shot into his cupola, we got a second shot into his cupola, but he got a shot into us. I decided to take the shot from the M103 so that I could get to here. There's another Type 63 at the back. You can see I couldn't get the gun depression with 8 degrees. 12 degrees, I might just get it, but I can't actually even figure the 12 degrees of gun depression, sorry, to get the angle on that guy. But we can come further up here to get a shot into the 705, and you can see we're aiming over the side of our tank. Our suspension is not activating. There is no bobble there. The moment we start to struggle with the gun is when we get closer to the front of the tank. So if you're in a situation like this, aiming over the side of the tank and getting 8 degrees of gun depression, which is still fabulous, means that you might not have to suffer the bubble quite as much. So that's just a handy little tip to try and, you know, if the bubble really does irritate you, make it so that it doesn't, essentially. You know what I'm saying? So we're just trying to see if we can get shots down into the 705 or the T-34-3 or this M103 if we can, but that 705 is looking at us. The T-34-3 goes really high on that little ridge, which gives us a lovely shot into the top of his tank. And that's the other thing I forgot to mention, is this gun at the minute, which I don't think it should, sounds like a 150mm gun. But it's not. It's a 105mm gun. I feel like that's something that they might fix down the line. So if you buy this tank and the gun sound changes, it's because it has the wrong gun sound. It shouldn't sound like a 150mm. It should sound like a 105. But hey-ho. Small things, right? So we're just looking for the shot into the T-34-3 because he's firing HE, which naturally he can't pen my turret, but he can fire HE at us and do 100 damage, which will whittle us down a little bit. Makes it so that obviously if we get penned by the M103, it'll put us down to a one-shot for him, probably. Stuff like that. So we've got to be very, very careful. But at the same time, I do kind of just want to get rid of the T-34-3. So we're going to use the 12 degrees gun depression, pop over, we take the shot from the T-34-3 with HE, and we finish off that guy. That was where, again, this is where the 12 degrees gun depression is nice, because there's the bubble. Right there was the bubble. We were fighting it. But yeah, that's where the 12 degrees of gun depression is nice, because with 8 degrees we couldn't quite get the shot, but we just turned to the front so we could get 12, and you can see we could actually get the shot on him. And yeah, the first shot unfortunately bounced towards the M103, but we do go for the shot into his cupola there as we're looking up. But because we're shooting at it at an awkward angle, the shot ricochets. So I load heat, because heat will make going through that cupola and the top of his turret way, way easier. And it is probably the right round for using against this guy's turret at this point. Which, again, it goes straight through the turret front. We don't need to take any chances, and we get rid of most of his hit points. He's now a one-shot for us, which means he backs up. We've still got the heat loaded, so we're going to go for the turret of the Type 63. And as I've already shown you with the heat, with the Tanks GG, it is still a very difficult pen. Can I do it? Yes, but it's still a struggle. So we're ricocheting with 290 pen off of the turret cheeks of this Type 63. You are seeing this live in action shooting against ourselves. But we shot as close to the gun, so we hit the flattest point that we could, and it actually went through. Because, again, if you try and hit the flattest point, that's the best bit for heat. And that's, again, it did go through. But we are still ricocheting a lot of shots off this guy. Bobbles! Bobbles everywhere! This is why I wanted to show this replay. Because you are seeing the bobble at the extent of the gun depression for the tank. And it does throw off a fair few of your shots at times, which can be really frustrating. The Live Oak scenario was the perfect scenario, where we're not extreme angles of the gun depression, so you do see the bobble, but it's not awkward because you're not sliding up and down on the terrain, and you can still get the most out of the gun. This one, you're seeing we're in an awkward situation where we're just trying to get the gun depression out of it, and if we were in something like, I don't know, in a Mil 2 or the Cranvarn, for example, which has got 12 degrees of gun depression, in that sort of situation, obviously, I know they're tier 9s and 10s, right, but they've got 12 degrees of gun depression without the siege mode. We wouldn't be bobbling as much, and we could definitely guarantee where we actually have the gun depression to hit some of these tanks. But yeah. So, we're up to 3,068 damage, and we get a shot into the TL7 Black. The 705 pops round and shoots us. We're just basically at the point of waiting for our team to push in. The moment our team pushes in is when we can actually start to get some free shots ourselves, because that's the moment they'll be distracted. Because at the minute, the 705 and other things in this dip would just turn around and look at us. Also, there is tank destroyers that we know of at the back at K1, 2, so we've got to be very, very careful of them. We don't want to take any hits from those guys too. So yeah, we just got to play very, very carefully. It's at the moment that my team actually does come round and start shooting him in the back is when we can do what we need to do. And here we go. We've got shots at the back of the TL7 Black, and we put a shot straight through the back of his turret. He's just trying to get his clip in, which means he's sitting still, giving his free shots into him there. The G-Saw is also out, giving us shots, so we're just going to aim for the shot into the side, which it flies true. And you see, this gun is beautiful. It really, really is. It's aim and circle is so small. Get another shot straight through the side of the G-Saw there, and he escapes. Now we're going to go for the kill on the 705, but sadly we don't get off the ridge line quick enough to get the shot in. He gets shut down, leaving just one tank on the enemy team left, which is that G-Saw that is at K23, and he is being surrounded by my team. But yeah, the gun on you're seeing the gun on this tank is fabulous. It is a really, really nice gun. And this is all without gun stabilizer, which just tells you how good the gun stats are on this tank. That the fact is, without gun stabilizer even, the gun is just this good. But that's the end of that second game on Lakeville, and we finished with the victory. 1 kill, 4.3k damage, 1280 blocks. We did block a little bit. The second class, the high caliber, 1691 base XP. Pretty decent game there, again, for the old Type 63. And again, that was the whole point of that, was just to show you that bubble. Just to show you what it's like on that sort of ridgeline. You saw that with the Live Oaks game, and you saw it again there. Because I want to get across to you that the bubble is quite annoying, but there is ways to get around it. And because the base gun depression of this tank is so good, it's not too much of an issue sometimes. Because obviously it is really irritating on this stuff at times where the gun flicks. I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much on the Swedish mediums, but it can be really annoying because obviously they have a base gun depression of like 5. Same as something like the Rind of Arrakis suffers that same problem. But obviously this tank having 8 degrees, I mean the STB1 has 8 degrees as well, but it is very annoying on the STB1. But the STB1, the difference between this tank and the STB1 is the fact that the STB1 has terrible gun handling, and this tank has fantastic gun handling. So the bobble doesn't affect your gun handling quite as much compared to something like some of the, to be fair, most of those tanks as well that have the auto siege mode have pretty awful gun handling as well, which doesn't help it. So when it does bobble, it means that the accuracy on the gun is horrific, whereas this tank is actually really good on the accuracy. But we're on to the third game anyway. And you saw me absolutely no power against that Badger. I side-scraped the Badger a little bit, which was a bit risky anyway, because, well, yeah, we don't really have the side armor for that. And I looked at it and went, oh, that's hull down. I don't want that from the Badger. Nope. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this position here at G3 and wait. Because we are in a tier 10 game. This is the worst matchmaking we could get, because we are against tier 10s, so we do have to be very, very careful. And from here, we can shoot the guys up on the hill. If they come around this castle, or abbey, or whatever it is, a castle, once they go around this castle, we can get free shots of them. You can see we actually have shots at the T28 prototype there, but sadly, because we only got 230 pen, we cannot go through the turret cheeks of that guy. But if we load heat and go for 290 pen, and heat doesn't lose pen over distance, we can go through the turret cheeks. So we're just waiting to try and not get shot by VZ51 and the T28. They're now distracted by the medium tank that's next to them. We go for the shot into the turret cheeks of the T28 Proto, and we bounce. And you can see, actually, a bit of the gun bobble with this tank while looking up. This is the opposite effect of the gun depression scenario, where we're trying to look up, and because we don't have the best gun elevation in the world, the suspension is trying to give it to us, and it's struggling. But we're managing to get shots towards this T28 Pro. Unfortunately for us, we don't quite get the kill shot into him. But is he going to come back and give us another free shot? That'd be glorious if he does, which he does, and we shut him down. Now, the Super Conqueror is driving round, and this is where it is helpful for us to be here, because we can get free shots into this Super Conqueror who is attacking the back of this heavy tank and medium tank, and we can farm away. And this Super Conqueror should be getting blapped as well. We aren't rolling for 320 anywhere near, which makes me think that this guy has possibly got the armor angling on, because we're going nowhere near 320. So you're seeing the rolls are quite bad here. I'm assuming this guy's got armor angling. It always makes me question it. When I'm low rolling this consistently, it always makes me question whether someone actually has armor angling. That's a bit of the problem with something like armor angling and advanced armor as equipment and a perk. A perk is the way to describe it. Is that, yeah, if someone is running it, you have no idea. So it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, because you'll be shooting at them going, I've shot them 5 times, I've got 320 alpha, but I've only rolled between 250 and 290. Like, what is going on? Is my RNG that bad? Right? And it could be quite easily explainable by the fact that they have armor angling or the advanced armor equipment. But will you ever know that unless they told you? No. And that is a little bit of the frustration. Sometimes I do wonder if it would be better if that was just, hey, here's some extra HP or something like that. But hey, it's hey-ho, right? But anyway, we managed to get a shot into the Iron Rain, and I backed off because I thought, no, you know what, I don't want the Iron Rain. I noticed the 13105 was in the middle of the map, and I decided to go and pressure that 13105 so we can get rid of that tier 10 light tank, which we have. We noticed that the Ruthless and the Type 63 on the enemy team are pushing up onto the hill, so that's something to bear in mind. So what I want to do is try and clear the down low area. We know the Iron Rain is around this corner. I want to get rid of it. He ends up spotting us, so we load HE. And obviously the HE damage on this tank is 400, which is quite nice, and it means we can two-shot it. So we've got the HE loaded. I'm willing to take a hit from the Iron Rain if I can, because I just really want to get rid of it. I'm still full health, so I can take a hit. We're going to side-scrape a little bit, so it makes it a bit less likely for him to guaranteed pen us, but he was reversing to try and get away from us, and that meant that he wasn't ready to shoot, and we managed to shut down the Iron Rain. Now we've got a Sturm Tiger coming after us, which is very awkward, because he could actually pen us with the HE and just delete us. He could pen us with this heat round as well, which could also delete us. And if he just hits us with the HE, it could just delete us because it hurts and it's a Sturm Tiger. So we're going to pop around and try and take some cheeky shots if we can. Oh my lord! Okay, that was close. When you see a Sturm Tiger shoot at you like that, oh boy, that is brown trousers moment. But the Sturm Tiger gets shut down by the Death Star. We're just looking to see if we can get a shot at the Type 63, which we can't. We get detected. I'm thinking, what? Is he there? Oh, it's a Ruthless. We get very, very lucky. Because I looked at the TD and forgot it was a Ruthless at that point. And we got very, very lucky that that Ruthless did not kill us. We get very, very lucky there. That Hesh could have shut us down very, very quickly. And yeah, probably should have killed us, if we're honest. So we're very, very lucky there, but we did get a shot in return into the Ruthless blind, which is great, because we saw exactly where that Hesh shell came from. I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to try and pop another blind shot, see if that Type 63 is up there waiting for me to get spotted again or something like that. But we don't hit it, and I'm watching what the TD behind is doing at D6, and I think, you know what, I need to help this Death Star out. Why do I need to help out the Death Star? Because I thought, they're going to be attacking our cap. I don't think they're going to go back along the 0 line. My brain was going, okay, they are going to charge down towards our cap. So we've got to go help out a Death Star. It's either help one or one of the TDs. And there we go, the Death Star's backing up. It's like, hello, Mr. Type 63. Were you expecting me? No. And we get rid of the Type 63. So there's only one tank left on the enemy team. It is the Ruthless, which is a deadly thing to be left because he could kill any one of us in one shot, which would be very, very awkward, and we don't want that if we can help it. So what we're going to do is basically back up this Death Star, and what I'm fully expecting is either one of two things. That Ruthless is going to be sat at K0 waiting for one of the two of us to just drive around this corner, or he's going to be charging after us. So we're being as careful as possible in case he does just drive around, and in fact the Ruthless is doing what we expected, and he is just sitting waiting for one of us to come round. The 268 did manage to get a shot into him, though, and surprise him, and the Death Star just hot shots it and finishes him off. And we finish the game with the victory. Top of the team, 4 kills, 4.2k damage. The Sniper Medal, the first class, 1873 base XP, which was the third best. That was actually the third best game I had in the tank. The second best game I had is on stream and probably might feature in another video at some point on this tank. But this is now the best game I've actually had in this vehicle. And we are on this map, which is Dukla Pass. And on Dukla Pass, what we're going to do is go to the flank where you're more likely to be fighting as a heavy tank. Why do I say you're more likely to be fighting as a heavy tank over here at about HJ89? It's because there's a lot of different sections you can get hull down. There's a lot of different sections that you can play corners, essentially. And it's also the easiest section of the map to get to, where you don't have to cross big open ground and leave your flank exposed to shots from the enemy team, which is obviously not going to be very good for your tank. The problem is, if you push up the 1, 2, 3, there is a lot of open ground to cover between B1 and the position that will get you safe at C5 or A5. And that open ground can lead to you getting spotted by tanks that are stealthier, especially since a lot of their TDs like to sit at C7, C8, and thus you will lose a lot of hit points. If you are going to push that, the best thing to do is essentially get to the rocks at D3, D4, and then push as quickly as possible to either D4 itself, or then rush down to D5, D6, and get hull down there. That's the best thing you can do to push that flank. Pushing along the 1 line and then along the A line is a little bit risky. But yeah, this is a good position to fight as heavy tanks. The problem with this position is something that never used to really exist. And that is, before old school Dukla Pass, the people that were TDs that sat at G4 could actually assist you really quite easily. So if they decided to push exceptionally aggressively and push round at G8, that tended to be death for them if they didn't push it smartly. These days, because of all the extra rocks they added at G4, it means that TD position is really not that helpful for defending you, and only the TDs that have exceptionally good gun depression have any chance of helping, which means that a lot of TDs don't actually sit up there anymore like they used to, and thus you don't quite get the TD protection that you did used to have, which can be very, very awkward. But anyway, we are fighting this corner. We've managed to get rid of the ISM that pushed too aggressively and got caught out by there's only like 4 or 5 tanks with us. But we are now trying to farm this AT-15. And the shots are flying perfectly true, which is great. We're just being very, very careful of the VK101P and the G-Saw that could pop round that corner. And we get rid of the AT-15. You can see every single time I popped a shot at the AT-15, we pulled back and instinctively looked straight to where that VK or G-Saw could be. We're going to push a little bit more aggressive now, see if we can get a shot into the guys around this corner. I've got to be very, very careful, though, because if they do shoot me, there's a likelihood, obviously, my engine could go, which would be quite awkward. The VK did drive round and shoot the Jagdpanther too, so we've got to be very careful of that. The Iron Rain poked round. I was like, oh, goodness gracious me, there goes my hit points, but thankfully he didn't shoot at us. We do go for the lower plate shot into the Tiger 2 there. He ricochets off our upper plate, which is not something that happens very often, I must say. The G-Saw's down to a one-shot, so I was hoping to get the shot in to shut him down, but we don't get it. The VK101P pokes round and shuts down the Jagdpanther 2, and at this point we have to stop being aggressive because there's only 3 of us left and there is quite a lot of their team directly in front of us. So if they are too aggressive, and also we also have given our flanks to the VK and the G-Saw if they decide to push out, which would be very, very awkward for us if they did decide to start taking our hit points. So we've just got to pull back and be a little bit more passive and stop being so aggressive. Because otherwise, if we're going to be aggressive, we're just going to start bleeding hit points. But we're not spotted, and so are they. And, you know, so aren't they, essentially. English, it's hard. But we do get spotted. And that makes me go, okay, no. I think he's round that corner. So we pop a blind fire in case we can catch a shot into the G-Saw, which doesn't go anywhere near. We have heat loaded for the 290 pen because we cannot penetrate the cupola of the not the G-Saw, of the VK101P with our standard 230 pen. The 290 is our only way through his cupola. But he gives us a lower plate shot, which is quite nice of him, which we put the shot straight through, but his lower plate's not going to be available for much longer, so we put the shot straight through his cupola. You can see we roll for 343, that's quite a nice roll. And we're just waiting for more shots through, which we get in again for 293, putting him down to a 2-shot. But he's pulled into a position that's a little bit more awkward for him to fight us from. And the G-Saw manages to get shut down as well quite nicely with that shot through his side. The VK drives round, which gives our whole team some nice shots. But he's just looking at me. He's clearly very unhappy with me. And then we take a hit in the side. I didn't realise that these two guys were coming around because I thought, again, we were covered in the side. So I thought, well, we're safe. But the Tiger 2 did actually shoot us. And actually, the Super Hellcat does shut down the T-54E2. And the Shashka does shut down the Tiger 2. We've now got 3 shots into the Rheinmetall Ballsig, which we are just doing our best to keep the shots flowing in. And there we go, we put him down to a 2-shot. Hopefully we'll get another shot, but we get detected, which makes me think, okay, there's something else looking at me. But it might have just been the Iron Rain. We're going to take the chance to get a shot into the Iron Rain, but sadly we missed the chance. We load HE, because obviously we can do 400 damage with HE, but we don't really need it, because he gets put down to a 1-shot. I make sure to aim high, so we get it actually to pen, and we shut down that Iron Rain. We're up to 4 kills for this game, 4.7k damage, 820 assistance. And 3 of their last 5 tanks are directly in front of us below here. So we're going to go over and use our 12 degrees of gun depression if we can to try and put the hurt in. So we've caught this VK101P out, which he must be sick of us at this point. We put 1 shot into him, making him a 1-shot, and finish him off, putting us up to 5 kills for this game. Looking for the top gun now. We're just waiting for the reload. We shut down the IKV, secure the top gun, the 6th kill of the game. Maybe we can get a 7th, but the AT-15 actually rams the WZ and finishes him off. But he actually rams the T-43 and puts him down to 1 shot, giving us the 7th kill of this game. The Barask comes in, which we get a shot into his side, and the Barask rams the AT-15. And we finish the game with a really, really nice total there for the Type 63. We finished with the epic, well, no, it's not a epic victory, apparently, it's just a victory. Finished with the 7 kills, nearly 6,000 damage. The Ace Tanker, the Devastator, the High Caliber, the Top Gun, with 2,361 base XP. A really great game there for the Type 63, and I hope I showed it off enough for you guys to make your decision on this tank. And you know, you got to see how this tank handles. Like I say, I think it's a fairly balanced tank. I quite enjoyed playing it. The bobble is a little bit frustrating, but the gun handling is so nice, and that turret armor is quite useful as well. But yeah, that's the Type 63, everybody. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!